Yes, sir. We live, baby. Yo, what's up, world? This is the In Your Face show. And welcome to the 69th episode of the In Your Face show with the best host, of course, yours truly, the swagnificent one, the king, baby. You know. And I'm here with my main man, my brother, man, Rob Van Blake. Introduce yourself, my brother.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rod Van Blake, author of the Ancient Illuminations series. That was my first project. Now working on my fantasy series, the Umbani Chronicles. We have novels, three novels in one series, soon to be two in the second, two graphic novels in the Ancient Illuminations series, and next month we'll be launching a Kickstarter for the Umbani Chronicles comic book adaptation to my literary works.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, Yambani Chronicles, my brother. So tell us about that story.
The Umbani Chronicles is basically my fantasy world. It's an alternate dimension to AI. Ancient Illumination is science fiction. The Umbani Chronicles is my epic fantasy tale. So if you like dragons, human warriors, orc-like characters, elves, dwarves, and things of that nature, that's what's covered in the Umbani Chronicles. And I basically have a magus or a wizard who tries to bring back his lost love, gets into an unscrupulous deal with a god disguised as someone else. They promise that they can bring this lover back if they raise this revenant army and basically build a power base in the world for this god. In return, they will have their love brought back. But it's all a lie, and they end up corrupting magic, and there's a sickness that goes through the land, causing some like farm pastures and land to go have an ailment throughout it. And so it wakes up these dragons that have evolved to the point of being able to nourish themselves off magic alone through these crystal magic conduits. So when the corruption of the magic disturbs the dragons, they come up out of their layers to find what the hell is going on. And they're in this search for this magus that's caused all this trouble on the planet. So that's the Umbani Chronicles in a nutshell.
Okay, so in the Yambani Chronicles, who is the leading character?
There are a few. There's Male, Ishmael. He's a kid that was basically bestowed powers from the Orishas. I didn't tell you guys that. The Orishas are the pantheon of gods that rule uh, over Yambani. And he's just a kid that's, as he's born, Olorun, the sky god, the creator, takes a measure of talent from Shango, the thunder god,
Hmm.
and Oya, the goddess of storms, hurricanes, and wind. They were arguing about whose lightning was more powerful. So he takes a couple talents of these powers and imbues it into an unborn child, which is Male. So Male is going to grow up having this power and kind of navigating the world that he's born into as these powers manifest into him. So he's going to need some help doing that. He's one of the main characters that we will see grow up from childhood, obviously, to adulthood later. And the first comic, I believe, is subtitled Genesis of a Chaos Master, because that's what he can become later on. So it'll be up to us to see whether he controls the power that he was given and becomes a chaos master, being able to control the winds, thunder, lightning, and or whether those things will consume him and he ends up being destroyed. So he's one of the main characters that we see. Motu, the necromancer, which is another magus. He's the one that makes the deal with the god to try and bring his lover back. He's kind of one of the main villains of book one that is moving things along and doing only things that are in his interest, which is affecting the other characters throughout the world adversely, obviously, and disturbing these dragons. The three elder dragons, Kibo, Shira, and I think Miwa are the three elder dragons that wake up eventually.
Right, right, right. True that, true that. So tell us about, where does the story take place?
It takes place on Yumbani, which is the
Okay.
name of this world, the ultimate dimension. Yumbani means home in Swahili, so that's why it's called Yumbani Chronicles, because I'm going to have various tales all taking place in this alternate dimension. It's similar to Earth. The atmosphere is slightly different, but it's a jewel of a planet that was created by the Orishas. They basically have been flipping different dimensions and saw how things have been destroyed in other places. So they come and create this uh, Africa-like planet. Like the entire planet has various different biomes and various different groups of beings that live in different biomes. And so that they're trying not to let this one get destroyed as what's happened in other dimensions that they've built.
Okay. Okay. Cool. 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 So, along this story, right? Do you ever like get to that point of, you know what I'm saying? Do you ever get to that point of feeling like you're like overdoing yourself, or do you feel like you're, you're in the, you feeling good doing it?
I'm struggling right now with the sequel. I'm thinking I'm like 230, 240 pages in. I should be done sometime this month before next month with the literary work. And then basically after I'm done with the book, I'll be on art direction duty. So I just got to write the novel first. I write because that's all I can do. I can't draw to save my life. I got into this game publishing in 2016. I published my first novel. I was advertising in fantasy and science fiction focused magazines because as a person with a marketing degree, I figured that was the best place to find my target market would be in these magazines. And the money that I was paying wasn't coming back. So when we moved, I'm in Baltimore now. We went to Baltimore Comic Con 2017, and I was like, let me try to sell. And at the time, I only had one book at Baltimore Comic Con. Did well, sold almost like 80 copies. I think I had like 80 something and ended up coming home with like 12. So at that point, I was like, yo, this is a much better bet for me than paying 250 a month to advertise in a magazine and not getting that back, each month. If I can buy a table for 2, 3 days, sell books, I know exactly how many books I came with. But people kept coming up to me going, yo, the story sounds dope, but I'm not about to read 300 pages. Can you draw it for me? And so that's what the gateway for me to kind of get into the comics game, because I was going to Comic Con, so it made sense that most of the people that I was running into were looking for a visual representation, not necessarily literary work. And I had
Right.
banners up and I had artwork done that I commissioned on like Fiverr or something. I had a dude in like the Ukraine that disappeared. It was doing individual character concepts for me. So I made placards and had them up on the table. So people would come talk to me about the art. And eventually, after seeing it over and over again, they figured, oh, there must be a comic book. I'm like, no, dude, there's no comic book. It's all words. That's the only thing I'm selling you. So I do my part, which is to write the book. And then now I'm at a point where I'm trying to expand into other mediums. So I'm trying to
Yeah.
meet
Yeah.
people wherever they are. However you take your fantasy and science fiction, I want to meet you there. If you want it in a comic book, we're going to get that produced. If you want it in, say, a video game later on down the line, I'm hoping to make that happen. If you want a tabletop RPG, Dungeons and Dragons type game, I want to do that. So right now, I'm just doing what I can, which I encourage everybody out there to do. Whatever it is you can do right now, just bite a small chunk off of that big dream that you have and do what you can do now. And then when you're at a point where you can move forward with something else, then I actually want you to go do that. So right now
Right.
I'm just writing. I'm writing and directing art. And that's how I've started out. And it's, if you said you saw the pictures on my site, right? With
Hmm.
you can see like if you go to the early ones where I had like the one book, one banner, was real meager setup. And then till now, there's like 3 or 4 banners behind me. There's art, books spread across the table, comics spread across the table. So I had to start somewhere. Um,
Yeah, because being in this industry, it's going to take a little while to settle in. You know what I'm saying? Being in the comic industry is going to take a while to settle in because you have to basically be able to, you know know what you're doing. And you
Books
have
as
to,
well.
yeah,
Yeah, literary books as well.
yeah, like when I came in this business, I only had like, I want to say one book,
Yeah.
one book. I wasn't, cause like I said, you know what I'm saying? Like I only had, I did this shit off of $9.50 worth of salary. So being able to do that, you know what I'm saying? And taking a little time to get out book two, which is a big novel. It's a very different situation, you know what I'm saying? Because as you get your foot in the door with comics, it
Hmm.
gets easier. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? It gets
I don't
easier.
know if it's gonna get easier for me. I just think it's different, and it opens up. Like I said, I
I
started
mean,
with literary works. So the literary works thing, I found to me was a harder sell at a comic book convention than someone who had a comic book. So in my mind, I knew like, yo, if I'm selling books at Comic Con, then for sure I can sell comic books at Comic Con.
right, of
Because
course.
people, and the other thing was, I had the added confidence in that because people were asking for it over and over and over again.
Right, right.
So
That's
while,
why, yeah, that's why I say like, it gets easier because you know what you're doing, but you're gonna have those bumps in the roads where you know what I'm saying, you're gonna get challenged
yeah,
because you may have a couple of books, you may run out of books while you're at the Comic Con and have to order them on a fly and shit, and you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? That shit is it happens,
oh yeah, we
and
got down now with that, and we run out. I have QR codes that can pop out on the table, and basically once the event is over, I go home, I order that next batch, and then through the QR code, the people that have paid, I already have their addresses. They get shipped direct to them once I get home. So instead of
that's
missing out,
good.
but those are little like tricks of the trade. Like, what do you do when you run out at table in the midst of an event?
That's good because at least you have that experience as a publisher to know what you're doing when it comes to that. At least you're ahead of the game with that because coming in the game and not knowing some of that shit.
Yeah,
Ooh, it's gonna be hard, boy. It's gonna be hard, and
yeah.
that's why. And I say that because not a lot of people have what you have your experience, bro. Not a lot of people. That's rare. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, hey, at least you made the transition a little more cleaner than the other folks. You know what I'm saying?
I think the only like I don't think I've necessarily done anything special. I think I'm one of the few that takes the leap. Like I think everybody has a
Oh
story
shit.
they can create and publish and put out there. Like 98% of us. I think only 2% of the entire population actually acts on it. And that's where I think there's a disconnect. If I got a nickel for every time I heard somebody say, I was about to write a book, or I'm about to write this, or I'm about to create that, but they've never taken that first step, that's where I think the disconnect comes in.
Right, right. I got what you're saying. I got what you're saying. Somebody text me. Sorry about that. But yeah, as I was saying, like, yeah, that is a connection right there because pushing that out and getting yourself in position like that helps you get there. You know what I'm saying? Helps you get to where you want to be. And so on top of that, I have another question. Another question. Being a publisher, right,
Mhm.
and being just coming into the comic industry, was it a very trying time to get to where you wanted to be? Was it a trying time to get one book out? Was it a trying time to get a comic out? What
Yeah,
was your time like?
it was a lot. Number one, it was a lot more expensive. The one thing I think I had going for me is that the comic, the graphic novels were going to be adaptations of my literary work. So I already had the bones, tentatively, the script pretty much done because the book is there. That wasn't the problem. The problem was, number one, I had to find an artist that I could work with. And I got really lucky with that. And then once we came upon an agreement to how much things were going to cost. Then it was just about the money, basically. And then we had added on top of that, we got hit with the pandemic in 2020. So I had 2016 was my first novel, 2018 was my second novel, 2020 I published the third novel, but because everything shut down, I basically didn't get a chance to take it out and sell it. At the same time, in 2020, we had created the first graphic novel adaptation for Ancient Illumination, my science fiction series. Again, no one to sell to because all the venues were shut down and we weren't going nowhere. So that was the first time I'd initially done the Kickstarter, I think was in 2020. So what I was able to do was I was able to stack the books in the various tiers of the Kickstarter, along with the volume 1 of the graphic novel, volume 2 of the graphic novel. And that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to fund to get financing for book 2 of the graphic novel adaptation. Never done a Kickstarter before then. And that was how I was able to raise the funds for book 2 and get that produced, so that when things opened back up in 2021, I not only had my 3 novels, but I also had 2 graphic novels. And then because, like I said, we were locked down and couldn't go nowhere, that's when I wrote Mahali Chronicles. I was able to crank that book out in about 4 to 5 months because we wasn't going nowhere. So I was like, well, I ain't got nothing else to do, nowhere else to be. I'm going to sit down and write this story out, which I guess now, because things open back up, may be partially why I'm kind of struggling to finish the second project. When I'm like, I know I wrote that in 4 months, but that was because you couldn't go nowhere. We wasn't doing nothing but working out and writing. That's all that was going on.
Damn, like that shit. That's why, that's why I tell, see, back to your point right there. That's why I tell people during the supposed pandemic, I'm really sure during the supposed pandemic, right? All I did was just write and chill, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like this: work on your craft, man. Like, your craft is everything. And all I heard from people was make excuses, find something other than what you're doing to basically take your time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like, for example, you don't just sit there and slouch up and just well, yeah, no, you get out there and you just basically fucking go for it. You know what I'm saying?
I felt like I was being slowed down and hindered, so I was like, I'm gonna find a way to be productive during this time.
Yeah.
So that when we open back up, I want to hit the ground running. And it seemed like it was a perfect storm. I think we did BlurredCon after. It was like one of my first events, July of 2021. And I'd never been to that event before. I had set up a panel with me and my artist. We did something called When Writer Meets Artist. They got my foot in the door to be at BlurredCon and knocked it out the park. I didn't even do really the first day. The last 2 days of that 3-day event, I sold more in those 2 days than I had at events that were like 20 times larger, like Awesome Con in DC, which is the Comic Con in Washington, DC. Baltimore Comic Con are way larger than BlurredCon. But I think it was a perfect storm of people wanting to come out and support and being starved for something to do. And we were finally able to get back out. And they really wanted to support the artists that came through. So I was able to parlay that into a huge success. And then we went back the following year and we're reapplying for next year. Right now, end of the year, I'm getting to line up the events for 2023 and applying for tables across the board to try and get my yearly schedule out. Yeah, you just got to be productive. You got to get it done because a lot of people don't have the time. That's the thing. It's a luxury that a lot of people don't have. People got kids, people got jobs, people got other things that kind of get in the way, familial ties and responsibilities. So when you're given a chunk of time to do whatever it is you want with it, you gotta go for it. At least that's how I saw it. And so that's how Mahali Chronicles was born, because I'm a sci-fi head, but I love fantasy too. So I wanted to add that wrinkle into my publishing uh, content bag. I wanted to add fantasy in addition to um, the sci-fi side of things, which was my mainstay. My mainstay was science fiction because I'm a big Star Wars nut. I was reading a bunch of Star Wars stuff. I wrote some short story that was Star Wars. But man, you can't own this. You don't own none of this. So that's what made me start the other series initially, because I wanted something
Right,
of
right.
my own to create and put out there. Just because I enjoyed some of those things so much. And in my mind, I was like, I've enjoyed so much of this crap. I wonder if I could do one myself. That what if kind of like, what if I wrote something? That kind of how it started. And then just kind of snowballed from there. Started with that one book. And then my wife was very supportive. And she was kind of pushing me out because she was kind of saying, yo, book two's coming out next year. She kept saying that at the event when we were going to Comic-Con. I was like, who's writing this book? Am I writing the book? You write the book. You telling everybody it's going to be out next year. So that kind of lit a fire under me. I had to have, after 2017, Comic-Con 2018, sure enough, book two was ready. So now it's like every other year, I'm going to plan to have at least one literary work, one illustrated work per year to kind of have things grow and expand as we go. And then when money and time permits, like I said, eventually we're going to expand it to other mediums. I've already got screenplays started to be written for an episodic TV show. It's just about putting the work in, man. I'm hoping by 2026 something pops off. I published my first book in 2016, so I basically, as a personal goal, I have like a 10-year window. Something's got to pop off big within those 10 years. To be real, there's no overnight success. I'm trying to, got a 10-year window to grind it out and get something done. And I think by the time I have all of my content done, there will be no choice but to accept it, and something will pop off, and we'll be into one of these other bigger mediums, so that people can see us in another way. For those that won't even pick up the comic, perhaps they want to see it on screen. We'll have something for them.
True that. Right. So being a person that that loves sci-fi, what are the shows that you keep up with?
Right now, I'm watching Andor.
Okay.
As far as sci-fi, basically all the Star Wars stuff I watch. Also Star Trek, Discovery, Strange New Worlds. I keep up on those shows. Basically, my prerequisite really for things that I enjoy, not to be funny, is just ass whooping. I want some fighting. I want some good action to be in there for me to enjoy, regardless of genre. There has to be some type of that needs to be resolved for me to take any interest in it. So both sci-fi and fantasy shows, I enjoy all of them. I'm watching, like I said, Andor currently. What else? House of the Dragon, Rings of Power on the fantasy side. I'm watching those two shows. I watched Dune when it came out on HBO Max. A lot of those shows I watch, but I like action. If it's got action in, I'll give it a try. I think we're either going to talk about Werewolves by Night on Disney Plus. We're going to watch that show, that movie, and there was something else we were thinking about watching. I forget, but it's in the list. I got to talk to the crew, see what they want. And we usually have to come to a consensus on what we're going to watch and discuss for the next shows.
True that. I'm just straightening up the camera right here because it look crooked.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. There we go. What'd you say?
Are you watching any of those?
I watch a little bit of sci-fi, you know what I'm saying, but I'm like I'm a ass kick type of zombie guy, type of superhero type of guy. Yeah, I watched it in the beginning, when all these characters didn't make an appearance.
Yeah.
They made it to soap opera now. You know what I'm saying? Made it to soap opera now instead of just the zombies. Now the zombies is taken out of it now, really. You know what I'm saying? You really don't get no zombie action. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought it was gonna be more like a Resident Evil type thing.
Yeah,
rather
well,
than,
I haven't watched Resident Evil yet. I've seen a lot of complaints about it, but as far as The Walking Dead, that was the main crux of the show was the human element, basically, and not the zombie
exactly.
themselves. They basically wanted to me, it was they were exploring how much of a piece of crap will you become in desperate times when things really, when the rubber meets the road and this crazy situation happens for the self of, for the purposes of self-preservation, how horrible of a person will you become to the detriment of those around you? So that's basically what they were doing.
Right. Well, yeah, because like to be honest with you, man, like it just did a little too much. You know what I'm saying? Like I was looking for more like a Resident Evil type thing, but I also seen the Game of Thrones though.
Okay.
Back to your thing, the Game of Thrones. My favorite character is Mountain. You know what I'm saying?
It's who?
I love Mountain. That's favorite character is
Oh,
Mountain.
the
The
mountain?
Mountain.
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah, yeah. He's a big, bulky type of character. You don't really get to see those characters as face characters in these companies anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't get to see those big, monster characters. They always take the back seat to the smaller, sleeker, fit characters. You get what I'm saying? Like in Marvel, like in all these other genres, you don't really get to see the big characters,
Yeah.
the big brute characters get that chance to star. You know what I mean?
Well, they usually have the least amount of personality. I mean, but I'm a big dude myself, so if I had to cast, I mean, like I said, I do extra work. I'm rarely ever asked to do anything intricate. They just kind of want me to stand there and be big. Be 6'9",
I mean, I'm a
350 pounds. Just stand there and be 6'9", 350 pounds. That's what they want you to do. I don't care what role
right.
I get signed. They're like, oh, he's security or he's the bouncer. He's, stand there and just be big and look mean.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm a big guy, but you know, I got a star's personality, a spotlight. Goddamn it, you know what I mean? Goddamn it, I'm the spotlight. No, just so. But no, though. What I'm saying is that you know a lot of these characters in like Marvel or in like the Game of Thrones, the big characters, give them a chance. You know what I'm saying? Build a character that can have like that has like some personality. That's a huge bulky guy, and see where it goes.
You've been watching
You you'll
She-Hulk?
be, huh?
Have you been watching She-Hulk?
She-Hulk. I
He said,
think that's more of a kiddie thing to me.
no, it's not really a kiddie thing. It's definitely not a kiddie thing because they have too many sexual overtones for it to be a kiddie show. That's
No,
basically like
it's
it's like a Marvel's
no. What I
version
was,
of like Ally McBeal because she's a lawyer. So you have that kind of drama that's in there, and less of
yeah, but
they insert some of
it's
the
not.
comic book stuff in there.
See, yeah, but I just like the way they're reaching too hard. They're reaching like I say put more of that comic book feel to it. You know what I'm saying? Into it. I mean, they for God's sakes, they put that Smart Hawk in there. For God's sakes, they put Smart Hawk in there. Why not put the actual original Hawk in there and just
You know,
you
Professor
know,
Hulk is from the comics, right?
yeah, I know that. I know that. I'm just saying like because I'm more of an old school type of viewer. You know what I'm saying? Of comics. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just like you are basically. You viewer of comics, don't you? You
Yeah.
older viewer, so you would know that Hawk is like that. Hawk's nature is a break shit, rip shit apart type of character, right?
But
Angry.
the ironic thing about you saying that though, that's kind of the antithesis of what you said. You want them to have more personality and more something different than what we've always got him just smashing and breaking stuff. So I think when they pulled Professor Hulk basically from the comics, they gave him a different side that everybody hadn't seen. Because everybody knows Hulk smash. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows Hulk smash. And people around my age and a little older, the old Lou Ferrigno TV shows, Don't Make Me Angry with Bill Bixby. You won't like me when I'm angry. You know, we know all that, but it was kind of a different feel to him. My only slight with the way they did Hulk was when they let him get washed by Thanos. I was hoping
That's
for.
exactly what I was saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
I wanted him to get his get back. That was my hope, that he was going to get his get back later on, and that didn't happen. But I
Yeah,
still,
they turned him into a punk, man. That's like
I still
I
enjoyed. I
grew.
still enjoyed. I still enjoyed both the Infinity War movies.
No,
Um,
I enjoyed all that. I enjoyed all that. Yes, I ended. No, I
I did.
enjoyed. I enjoyed.
I did want Hulk to get his get back though, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like I wanted like cause see I enjoyed all the Infinity Wars type of cause that took me back to my childhood, you know what I'm saying? Infinity Wars type of shit, you know what I'm saying? Cause I had the whole Civil Wars comic collection.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? I knew exactly what was gonna happen, you know what I'm saying? Except for see they didn't have a lot of the characters going on different sides and shit like that. They didn't really have that, you know what I mean? Like
that's
you
really
have
that's really a lose-lose situation though, in my opinion. Maybe and then
right, true that.
same thing with Star Wars when they did away with the expanded universe and all the like the 200 something books that I read within Star Wars once Disney brought them. I knew they weren't going to do one-to-one adaptations from everything from the novels, which was hilarious when Kennedy said that they didn't have a bunch of content to go on. It's like, well, technically, yes, you do. You have 200 something novels that when you bought the property, you own the rights to all of that, and you could relegate that to canon. But what you did was you made it legends, and which to me was a smart move because then they could kind of cherry pick and choose what they wanted to use from the books without doing it exactly because you're going to get the same complaints. This was how the character was in this book. This is the character I love, and now you've ruined him. So either you're going to have to do it exactly like they have it in the books and the other media, or you're going to have your own little spin on it. They chose to cherry pick stuff and do their little spin on things so they could say that they were still technically being original. Because if you do it exactly as it was written before, then they're going to complain about you being lazy.
I mean, I would say, this is what I would say. I would say, make it to where everybody is happy. I mean, of course, everybody's not going to be happy.
Yeah, that's a
Everybody's not going to be happy, but I mean, I would just say take a chance. You know what I'm saying? Like, listen to the fans from the old time, listen to the fans from the new time, and come to a conclusion of, you know, have a little old school, have a little new school. You know what I'm saying? And integrate that, and you got voila. You know what I'm saying? But I know for a fact that Disney is more of a child, um, a child's channel. You know what I'm saying? So you really not.
if you look at the content they have there, is split now, which to the point now where they even made it, you can lock out some of the content so that the kids can go in there and watch all the Disney princesses and stuff of that nature.
I
But in order
mean,
to get certain content, you have to have a different login. You can set it up that way. Um, but this is
I
also
mean,
why. Go ahead.
I mean, when I was younger, I stopped watching it when I was younger. You know what I'm saying? Disney when I was younger because of the it just I just stopped watching it because it was not. I grew up. You know what I'm saying? So,
True.
but other than that, like I wasn't really into that. You know what I'm
Have
saying?
you
But
watched? Have you watched Andor?
Andor, no, I haven't gotten
That,
into that yet.
that's a prequel to Rogue One, right?
Okay,
So
okay.
just spoiler alert for all those who haven't watched it yet. First episode, my man is basically going into this place to look for his sister. He's on this mission to find his sister that he's been separated from. He's an adult now. They're in a brothel. You know what
Okay.
I mean? So that's not when you go into a brothel and he's going to ask for these women, ladies of leisure, whatever you want to call them, at a brothel. That's not a kiddie thing. Um,
Well, you get what I'm
She-Hulk
saying. Yeah.
smashing a bunch of different dudes in the show. That's not a thing for children. As no matter how you dress it up, that's not a kid's. At least it shouldn't be anyway. You know what I mean? Um,
I mean, you'll be surprised what kids watch nowadays. You'll be
I'm
surprised.
sure. I'm sure. I'm just saying, as far as thematically, there's a lot more adult content. And I was actually surprised with not only that and some of the violence, because that was the thing I was worried about with Star Wars, and I was worried about with Marvel, especially when you get to some of the darker characters. And I'm hoping that they don't put the kid gloves on some of the characters. Like you can't, don't kid me with Blade. Don't if you get the rights to Wolverine, if you get the rights, you have the rights to Punisher and all those characters. Where these are more, they're darker characters than the run of the mill characters that
Exactly.
we're getting from the mainline stories. You're gonna have to keep it gritty for me, and so I'm hoping that I'm sure they can do it. I'm just hoping that they will. But that was one of my biggest worries is that they're gonna make stuff kiddie. Um,
That's what I'm talking about. When it came to the Hawk, they made him too kitty, made him too soft. You know what I'm saying? It's just that's just the way I see it. Like if you go back to all the Hawk movies back where Luke Ferrigno was doing the Hawk, right? He had some type of oomph to him. You know what I'm saying? This this now that Disney got a hold of Hawk, they made him, and I'm quite sure they're going to basically put him as the Smart Hawk. This whole they already made him into the she and integrated him into the She-Hulk as Smart Hawk.
I mean, but there's an evolution of the characters in the comics that they have a full gamut to go through with him if they want to. And you got to forget also, I'm not sure they actually have total rights to him yet. So
Not quite sure either. You
that's still,
know,
I think Universal still has the rights to Hulk, which is the reason why we don't have a solo Hulk movie yet from Disney Marvel.
true
That's
that,
why
true that.
the movie with Ken Norton and the Australian character before him, the Hulk and the Incredible Hulk. Those two films are Universal.
And I think those two will you you're going to get a they're shit to be reckoned with, bro. Like to be honest with you, you know what I'm saying. I think if they do some if they really work it out with the Hawk and really I know I'm stuck on the Hawk. I don't know why, but if you really work on that and bring out his movie and just get the rights to him and really put some more to him. I'm guessing because I know they're gonna come out with. They already have merchandise out of Hawk, but I guarantee they're gonna come out with even more, even more. You know what I'm saying?
Well, merchandising may be separate from the cinematic rights. Just like they pretty much have the rights to everything but the cinematics thus far when it comes to Spider-Man. And that they're still haggling, I bet, over it, but it's not a toy. It's still, I think that's still Sony that still has the rights, the cinematic rights to him. And they're in the process, I think, of buying all that out. But this is also why I've been more, as far as the comics, I've been leaning more into the indie field because I just think there's a lot.
Yeah,
There's a lot of room.
indies. Let's let's,
There's a
let's talk
lot of,
about the indies.
yeah. There's a lot of lateral room for the indie space to do things that haven't been done yet, and we as independent creators aren't as risk averse. I think the big players in the game that have been established for a long time are risk averse, which is why we keep getting rehashed or recycled characters because they know this is gonna sell. Like even if it's
Right.
trash, I can put a Batman out and it's pretty much guaranteed to bring me nearly a bill. Period.
Yeah.
Now, if we change
Lily.
Batman any kind of way, then they might freak out. So let's just give him another version. I mean, okay, we let's replace Ben Affleck with the Batman, and I forget the British character's name that did the last one. But that's what they're doing because it's not a risk. They're making a Superman movie out next week. People gonna see it, even if it's horrible. They just want that initial cash in. If they try and do
Yeah.
something new in their eyes, and I don't think it's necessarily true, I just think it's what their analytics are telling them. Like if we do something too different, it's not going to sell, and we're going to pay for it. So let's just keep rehashing these same characters. So for those reasons, I have some of the main two comics, but now when I go out, I really I focus more on the indies and some of the artists
Right.
that
Yeah.
I'm introduced to as I've come through. Um, that's what I like to do. Um, like I said, this is my graphic novel, the first one, Ancient Illumination, and then here's the sequel to that. But Ace Blade, I don't know if you've
I know what HB is.
Those are the things that I go through with Lumberjacks.
Lumberjacks. Okay.
We got Howie, E-Time
Okay.
Comics, Ethiopian comic creator. More Howie. Eve of Insurrection. That's the artist that actually does all the Jordan Pennell Jackson. He does all my illustrations.
Okay.
Have you heard of Niobe?
Yeah, I heard of Niobe. Yeah.
Sebastian Jones, TJ Sterling with Okamus. These are the things I like collecting now, mainly because like I can count on these. Another one with Joystick Angels.
Okay.
When I go now, that's mainly what I grab, what I gravitate to, because it's going to be something different. It's going to be something new, and I don't see why people get so upset about what the big main companies are doing. Like, if you're upset that much about it that they're not giving you what you want, then I'm advocate for creating your own. If they're not giving you the black heroes or whatever heroes that you want that you feel like represents you, then I think it now behooves you to go out there and create them, because the industry has a bad track record with giving you exactly what I think. Now they bait and switch you. Things look
that's why
the marketing comes out and you get all excited for a certain character because you think it's going to be one way, and then it's kind of twisted into another thing that you didn't expect, and now you're upset about it. So if you have whatever representation you want, I think it's on you to go out there and make it happen.
Right. I think. Sorry about that. Right. No, I think that with that that thought, you know what I'm saying. That's why I do my own shit. You know what I'm saying. I've been doing Jarhead for over 17 years. You know. I don't know if you saw some of my stuff.
How many issues you got now?
I have one issue, but I'm actually working on an issue called The Collision of the Colossus, and also working on Jarhead Revelations Part 2.
Okay.
It's in production. You know,
stuff initially because I'm a Marine veteran. So when I saw Jarhead, which is a derogatory name for Marines, but between Marines, it's usually a term of endearment. So
right.
As you will. So initially, and that's why I think when we started chatting, I was asking you if you were in the Marine Corps, and you were like, "No, my pops was."
Right.
But yeah. So yeah. So I put the Marines in my books as well in my sci-fi side. It's just you gotta find a way to create what it is you want to see, and kind of twist your life experiences and things that you've experienced, the people that you come into contact with. That I think it's so easy to come up with a story. It's just like I said,
of course it is.
We just don't. A lot of people just don't do it. They don't follow through.
Lorenzo Donaldson said,
"Wait, what's up, Zo? Well, he's a eminent artiste. He has his own creation out there as well that he's about to be putting out. So I'm hoping I'm getting on him about putting that out. His series. I'm waiting to see his comic. He's a bad man. He's a nice artist. He has a lot of Egypt like mythology mixed with mythology surrounding the raven type of thing. So it's interesting art style. You should check him out.
Right. I'm actually looking for new guests. So, hey, hit me up in the inbox. Let me know if you want to do this thing. You know what I'm saying? We'll get you booked in immediately. So let me know. But back to what we were saying, man, it's just that me, like I started off with the Marine because, like I said, I love the military and shit like that. I always wanted to be a Marine. I always wanted to be a soldier. You know what I'm saying? It's just something about it that just, But I use my spiritual life to to communicate with the people. You know what I'm saying, and to show them what I do, and you know what I'm saying. I actually do the actual sketches of my characters. I'm I'm the character designer of all my characters. I am the writer, and I am the owner of all of my stuff.
Okay.
Right. So, nah, but with all that said, you know what I'm saying? Hit my inbox, Lorenzo, you know, but also, like, when it comes to ancient illuminations, right? With that, out of all your stuff that you've done, which character is that relates to you that is close to your heart?
I think that Jared Omega, he's the king of the Kisanaskari. They're a mutant race with overly calcified skin. And they're basically used as like cheap labor, almost slave labor, because they can go out on other planets and mine and get resources that allows the people here on Earth to have this crazy technological advancements, but they're not being paid properly. So eventually they have to revolt. Like, you're not giving us our fair due for our contribution to society. So it kind of kicks off where you have regular human beings who aren't mutated using technology to control these mutants. So Jared Omega is probably one of the characters closest to my heart from the first book that kind of started things. He was like an idealization of a character. Um, he has kind of an iconic look to him. He's got this dark gray skin. He's got this big cape that he wears, which is basically a symbol of his status because, so people recognize him when he's in his little suit that's the one in charge. No one else really
Right,
wears.
right.
Um, that's one of my favorite characters. He's a cool character. I'm gonna do some side stories so we can go back and visit some things he does in his youth later after we finish sketching out the entire series. But that's one of the main characters.
Okay, okay. So you have been to, do all of this by yourself. Did you ever feel like like you're do you ever felt like you want to you need a team, or you feel like you could still do it on your own?
Definitely. I mean, well, that's what I had. I had number one. I couldn't do everything I wanted on my own because I can't draw. So there were people that were asking for illustrations, and I knew there wasn't an amount. I don't have the time, and to be quite honest, I don't have the skill to self-teach myself to draw. I had delusions of grandeur at one point of just getting one of these Microsoft Surfaces and learning how to draw and doing my own illustrations, but that wasn't going to happen. So I needed to kind of find a group, and I'm still in the process of that. Jordan Pennell Jackson, JP Jackson Art, look him up. He's my main artist right now. He's been doing an awesome job at making these comics and these characters come to colorful life, and the illustrations. We'll be promoting more next month when we kick off the Kickstarter for that. Lorenzo initially did some concepts for me back when I was still living in California. I'm in the process of finding a Black female artist as well to kind of help me with some of my female characters I want to illustrate and have their own comic runs. Mainly the only thing I'm really doing myself is the writing. So as far as the literary side, that's all me. I write the books. I send them off to an editor. After they get edited, I send them off to someone to format, but I'm in the process now of doing the formatting myself. I copyright my stuff. I upload it onto Ingram and publish them through Ingram Spark to get them out to the various channels, so Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and to uh, access to wholesalers that have access to my books as far as the literary side. But it's going to take a team, man, for the things that I want to do, especially when the comics, it's already pretty much a team. We just took on another letterer that's coming on for this next project, and however that goes, I think we're going to keep her on for the foreseeable future for my next illustrated works. But for me, that's the dream, man. We're trying to put together a team and just churn out content, man. Just it's more efficient to have other eyes on to me, unless you're perfect, and I am not. So the more eyes, not too many. You can't have too many cooks in the kitchen, but at least a couple more than myself to make sure that everything is looking the way it is. And some people are more particular about certain things. So I think it's key to have a team.
Right.
Look at all the literary stuff, the words, and make sure the grammar is right and the word is spelled right, things such that, that nature. But the artistic things, Jordan is a stickler for a lot of things that we do. So I may look at something and it's cool to me. And then I'll get a message like, "Nah, I got to change this." And I'm like, "Why? This eye don't look right." I'm like, "Man, what are you talking about? It looks cool." So we have that little back and forth. And then I was like, "All right." Then eventually I trust him. I trust his judgment because he's the artist. I'm not. So if he thinks it's off, then we talk about it and get it up to snuff before we put it out. So yeah, I think it's
Right.
important to have a team. There's some. I mean, I'm not Superman. There are some dudes out there that's doing it all. A one man show, and perhaps that alleviates some of the monetary responsibilities because you don't have to pay another person to do. If you can do it all, there's less people you're paying. But
True
then
that.
you
Right.
probably lose out on the time value where you could be doing
Mm-hmm.
things. Like I said, once I'm done with this book, the second book in this series, then I'll go back to just looking over the art and seeing how things are shaping up that way. And I get to focus. And then once that project is done, maybe I go back to writing. I like it because it gives me time to breathe, man, having a team where I can focus on other things. I do what I do well, and then I get out of there. And then I'm kind of overseeing things.
Get in and get out, right? Right. So, you know, when you look at, your comics, do you think it's light years better than what it was 10 years ago, or do you think it's still at the same level?
I think it's still at the same level. Um, the storytelling is kind of different. And I like organic things as far as the storytelling. I don't like things to be kind of manipulated too much on purpose. Things need to be subtle. There are certain things that I talk about in my books, certain things that I bring to the table in the comics and the threads and themes and the story, but I don't want to beat you over the head with anything.
Right.
I want you to, if you recognize something, then you come to that analogy on your own. Rather than, I don't know if you remember in Living Color when they have a skit and somebody will come and be like, "Message." I don't I don't want to do that. I want
Right.
you to read and you go back and you think about it and think, "Oh, he's talking about this. It's an allegory for this situation."
Right.
Really talking about. But I want you to read into it. I don't want, if I have to just spell everything out for you and I've done all the work for you, then it's just being handed to you on a platter. I think they're having a hard time right now finding the balance with that within a lot of things that are being produced right now. Um, but other than that, I don't think the art is any less. You know what I mean? I think there are a lot
Right.
of amazing artists out there that are putting in work and doing things. It's just finding that balance between subtlety and just putting everything in your face, um, is mainly the difference. Um, and
And you
even
said it.
same thing back in the day when they were there were times when they were ham-fisted with some of the things they were doing back in the day as well. So it goes both ways. It just depends on what you like.
You just said the key word in your face.
Yeah,
Leave it in your face, baby. We gonna get mentioned every time. But nah, man, um, was an awesome show. Hell yeah, it was an awesome show. That's our childhood right there. That's the '80s and early '90s. You know what I'm saying?
what show they talking about?
Yeah, and the 11 color.
Oh yeah.
That's the '80s and that's late '80s and early '90s. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Go play that.
Hell yeah, man. I love the 11 color. I love Homie the Clown and Anton Jackson. Yo, that was my favorite characters of all time, man. Oh my god. But anyways, man, let's so when it comes to your art style, when it comes to the style of the art, what inspired you to do that art style? Or what inspired the art style that you wanted?
Wrong person, because I'm not the actual artist, Jordan. But the thing is, the reason why I like his stuff is because it's not traditional when it comes to comic books. In other words, it doesn't look like a Marvel or a DC comic when you see his comics. When you see Eve of Insurrection, Eve of Reclamation, and my stuff with Ancient Illumination, or even the stylings he does for Yambani Chronicles, it's different, and I like that. I like it's very stylistic, it's sleek, um, but it's not the same thing. I feel like when you get someone to do something that's done in the same way that everybody else is doing, then you really haven't differentiated. It's like just a coat of paint over whatever it is you're doing. You know,
Right.
copy and paste almost. Now we don't have that. It's a very different style, which I appreciate. And the people that come to my table or booth at different events seem to like when they see our stuff. Like, yo, I really like the art that you have here. And I always tell them like, yo, I can't take any credit for that because I didn't draw nothing, but they're based on my characters, and I appreciate that you like it. So, shouts out to Jordan. He's been doing an awesome job. That's when J Lo was naturally hot. So he's on Living Color. She was a flight.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it's just a different art style, man. And he's done the same thing. You've got the cover for Yambani Chronicles. That's also his work. He did the cover with
Awesome.
for the characters, Male, Kanae, Jamal, and Simon. One of the maguses who you see the little glowing blue arm because he's missing a limb, but he can manifest that arm when he uses his magic ability. It's just a different style.
Right.
Yeah, it's colorful, it's bright. I like it.
Awesome.
I'm hoping to have him throughout the entirety of Ancient Illumination. I think that's what we agreed upon. Is he'll do all the mainline stories for Yambani Chronicles and Ancient Illumination, and then I may have to find some other artists for the side stories.
Okay. Awesome. That look fine with me. You know what I mean? As we going, long as y'all come to the place to be, the Indian Face Show, baby. But man, bro, like, man, how do you feel about, matter of fact, scratch that. What came from what was the inspiration for doing this type of stuff that you do?
What if? Ancient Illumination basically was a culmination of a what if scenario. Like back when I was a kid, we were taught that there was 3 forms of matter: gas, liquid, and solid. And now I think later they came on and said that plasma was another form of matter, which is basically all 3 of the old forms in one. It's gaseous, it's liquid, and solid. Well, a photon of light is basically plasma. So I was like, well, what if there were beings made of pure light that were organic and sentient that come to the world like 68,000 years in the past when we're still cavemen and try to teach mankind? So that was basically the what if scenario that kicked off Ancient Illumination. And so then I had to come up with characters for that. I had to come up with scenarios where one of them was exiled here on Earth, forced to teach mankind. He gives us a bunch of mutations. He gives us technological advancements and basically sits there and watches us fight over differences as the difference become more, there's more of a distance, more than just simple skin color. It's not just black.
Right.
It's just these dudes are made of stone. There's a calcification that makes them seem like they're made of rock. So the regular men don't trust those people. These people look like they're made of diamonds or they're made of jewels. They're called the Limbi Johari. And these people have green skin and speak certain languages. And so the distrust is even more than what we have now, to the point where people are trying to use technology to kind of control the mutant races in the world. And then this ancient being that's exiled here is like watching it like a soap opera as we have war, famine, and other things that kind of cause conflict around the world. It just becomes his entertainment. So that was how that story started. And I've been just rocking with that ever since.
That's so awesome. You know what I'm saying? Because being transitioning from an art and like a Arthur and transitioning on to being a comic book artist and comic book writer, and you know what I'm saying, that's a great I think that's a great accomplishment right there, because
Yeah.
not only you could write it, but you can actually get it drawn in, and that is 2 different genres you could push.
He has a different skill set. I'm learning because actually the first is another thing Jordan did. Jordan is basically transposing the first book into the graphic novels. So soon I'm going to have to put that other hat on and start writing, especially when we get to the side stories, because I'm not going to have any base material to go off of.
Right.
Bonnie and I go to my Elven Queen stories, or the elves, or the Jaimon, which is like my orc-like characters. When they get their own comics, there will be no novel for me to go off of. So I'm going to have to take that and write the script to hand to the artist, saying, here's the script, page 1 has this many panels, and this, you're gonna have to script that whole thing out. So it's going to be that's going to be a game changer for me for sure. And I'm sure it's going to be a learning process of because I have nothing to go on right now. I kind of we kind of have a cheat sheet with the books.
Right. I have to stretch that out. Stretch out. But is there anything you would like to say to the people? Anything else?
No, that's about it. If you're into science fiction and fantasy, go to ancientillumination.net. You can check out my books, my graphic novels, see what shows I'll be appearing at in the next couple months, as well as if you have Spotify, Google, iTunes for podcasts, you can go to the Ascari Cast, which is our weekly podcast where Jordan Pennell Jackson and Andrea Rose Washington and I will discuss varying TV shows, movies, and things. Mainly my podcast is for us to discuss things that we like within the genres that we like, instead of being salesy. I don't like always being about selling. Sometimes I just want to relate to people that like the stuff that we're watching and getting into. We talked about Miss Marvel. We talked about Sandman a couple weeks ago. We talked about Day Shift. I don't know if you watched that, the vampire movie with Jamie Foxx and Snoop.
Oh, no, I haven't watched that yet.
They basically have a vampire hunting movie with Jamie Foxx and Snoop called Day Shift, which was interesting. So we just talk about stuff like that, things that we like that we're consuming ourselves. And then if people click the link in the description of each episode, they can get to my website and other things of that nature. But it's not about really selling stuff for the podcast. It's about having a discussion and kind of give our feelings on various things that we're watching.
Right. So, thanks for watching, everybody. It's been well, and you've been rocking, you've been socking, and you've been here with the greatest, awesome host in the world today in show business and entertainment. And this has been the In Your Face show. And we out. Peace.
Peace.